What was like your parents' reaction to you wanting to get into this world? I mean, I know you've been a performer your whole life, but once you made the connection that pro wrestling was a thing that you wanted to do, what did they think of that?
Oh, I think they thought I was so crazy.
Especially in like Victoria, which like I've never been to Victoria. It seems like it's the most magical fairyland place on earth. It looks beautiful, but I feel like do you feel isolated at all when you're in Victoria?
Absolutely, which is why when I graduated high school, I went to the University of Calgary. So
okay,
I was living in Calgary when I decided to get into wrestling. And I knew that I wanted to be a wrestler because I was picked on a lot as a little kid for being too short, too skinny, I don't know, all the stupid things.
Yeah.
Kids make fun of you for. And so I was really like always motivated to be like, I found like this book that I'd written notes in when I was like 15 or something. And I was like, I'm going to show them and like all this kind of like stuff. And I'm like, woo. So I was just always motivated to really reach for the stars, so to speak. And when I would watch divas on television, obviously our Canadian icon that is Trish Stratus.
Yes.
Watch her on TV or watch Victoria on TV and Tori Wilson. And, all that era was really like when I was like, I want to be like Trish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to be like Trish.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to be like Trish. And
I'm still trying to be like Trish too. I'm like, girl, where'd you get your hair done? Teach me everything.
Yeah, like what's the secret?
I know.
So like when I was in Calgary was when I kind of like really was like, I want to be a wrestler, but still didn't know how to do it, obviously. But that's why I got into fitness competition, because Trish was in fitness and Victoria was in fitness. And that was how I was going to make my mark. And
how were you figuring that stuff out about those women at that time? Because I feel like during that time, the internet access wasn't quite what it is today in terms of just being able to like pull up someone's Wikipedia. Oh, they trained here, here, and here. Like, how were you gathering intel on what you should be doing?
Yeah, back in the olden days when Instagram.
Back in the good old days, not to date us, but.
Oops. But I think I was just like reading articles, about them, because I would like buy a lot of sports magazines and like, and then so I'd read articles about them doing competitions or stuff online. Honestly, I was doing the old Google searches like everybody else and just trying to figure it out. And I feel like Trish was such a Canadian icon that she was all over everything in Canada.
She's Miss Canada. She should have her own day.
Yeah. When are we going to have Trish Stratus Day?
Yeah, let's go.
So I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. And it's really funny because like a lot of my best girlfriends who were like bridesmaids in my wedding and stuff, they like still remember us like bartending together at Cowboys nightclub when I was like 19 being like, I want to be a wrestler. So
I love that.
Like, you really did that. That's pretty freaking awesome. But yeah, it was just, being motivated by them to kind of like find my own path. And so my parents, when I started wrestling at Lance Storm School, like I'd already had like a tryout and like some different interactions with WWE at that point, and just based on my fitness stuff. So my plan worked, basically. And they were just kind of like, okay, like, I think they thought it was like a phase or like something weird that I was going through, but no. We
are.
Here we
still
are
doing it.
Yeah. And then I went to Mexico, and I still think about like, if I was my mom and my daughter did what I did, like, would I be okay with that? And
I think about that shit all the time now, having a daughter. I'm like
crazy.
How did my mom let me just like get up and move away at like such a young age? And I was like, deuces, I got shit to do. I got to go. Like if my daughter wanted to do that, I would die. I think I would wither away and die.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, did I not ever think about like, hey, I'm going to this foreign country. I don't know anybody. I don't speak the language. I am, like, am I going to get kidnapped? But to me, I was like, well, it's fine. Let's, I stood out so bad. Like I was so much, blonder than everybody, taller than everybody. I'm just looking.
Do you have? I don't know if this is like a Canadian thing, but I certainly have this of like, I always just assume that everybody has good intentions as well. So like when I'm traveling, I'm like, oh, they're fine. I'm sure they're gonna be fine. Like they're probably here for the same reason I'm here. Like I never
want to be luchadores.
I just never. I mean, yes, it sounds so naive and stupid to say that, but like, I often just put so much faith in like other people's like good humanity that like, and honestly, like knock on wood, it's kind of worked out so far that I'm like, I think everyone's kind of cool, but
we're two blondes from Canada just trying to make it in the world.
Just trying to make shit happen. Okay. So you're in Mexico. You are like out there just discovering the world. Did you go all by yourself?
No, there was 3 other students that kind of went there with me. So how this kind of happened was that I got in contact with Conan, who's now like a huge part of my heart. He's like my wrestling uncle. He takes, we talk all the time. He was like one of the first person to really believe in whatever I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And so like I went down there and I was staying in a house that like Conan was living in. Nicho, Psychosis, the original Psychosis, was living there. At one point, Silver King was living there. Halloween would stop by. Like, it was the craziest shit. Like, I'm like, I just recently was telling a story to someone and they were like, what? I was like, yeah. It's very strange now to think about. And we were only, and with these other students, and we were only supposed to train like, 3 to 5 weeks.
How long were you there for?
I stayed 5 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, just kind of thrown into it. I obviously didn't know like anything about the differences between lucha libre style and wrestling style. Like at the time I thought I knew everything. I'm ready to go. And like, I remember going to my first training session at Gimnasio Jordan, which is in like downtown Mexico City. And Silver King was teaching the class. And there was who now we all know as Lady Shani and Lou Dark were there as well. And I remember he asked me in like, broken English, like how long I was going to stay. And I'm like, I don't know, like 3 to 5 weeks. And he's like, well, you should just go home. You're not going to learn anything in that time. And I was just like, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, just like how I've always been, screw this guy. Like, I'm going to do this. And I didn't care. I was so broke for a long time. I was just like making it, I don't know how, but making it work. And, I was training all the time, every night with him. I was training in the morning with the late, great Gran Apache and also doing some afternoon sessions with Skyday, all while maneuvering Mexico City as a little Canadian. And, in the first few days I was there, Conan introduced me to El Hijo del Perro Aguayo, who then said to me, how long are you going to stay? And I said, I don't know, 3 to 5 weeks. And he goes, no, I think we change your plans. You're going to stay here now and be part of our faction. So
great.
Then I started, balleting and managing for him on AAA TV. I wasn't like signed to AAA right away. It took me about like 8 to 9 months of traveling with Pero and being on TV with him. And then like, eventually I was like, hey, Conan, Pero, what do you guys think about me not wearing heels in a dress? I want to be more involved in the matches. Can I wear gear? And like things like that started kind of like moving everything along. And that's exactly what happened. And I, eventually, so I started in March and by November had been offered to be full-time with AAA. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was it about the lucha style that just like sucked you in while you were there? I mean, you come from training with Lance Storm to then going down to Mexico. Yeah, exactly. Like, how did you kind of just like bridge the gap between what you learned from Lance into what you were learning there?
A lot of like things that I had learned from Lance, which were, the essential basics of what is professional wrestling. Like, I really had to just wrap my head around that some of the things that happen in the States and our style are completely different. Like, I remember just going to watch lucha libre shows at Arena Naucalpan, which is actually where like Nacho Libre was filmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we would go to these shows. Like, it was really cheap. You just take the subway, take the bus, then you like get your cheap beer with the michelada stuff on it and like eat your nachos and watch wrestling.
Yes.
And
that sounds great. That actually sounds like a great way to spend your time.
Oh my God, it was great. It's still like the cheapest cheese in the world. But to me at the time, I was just like, yes. And I would watch wrestling and just be like, I don't understand anything that's going on here. The psychology is totally different. If that, or is it non-existent? I don't know. But I just started trying to like understand, the formula of how these kind of matches are put together. And I just really fell in love with the fact that the Mexican fans are just a whole other level of passionate and crazy and just believe it. This is lucha libre is ingrained in their culture. So there's such a different level of respect and mystery and magic and all this kind of stuff that goes into it. And, you know, like that's another reason why I have the biggest entrance coats in the history of entrance coats, because, you know, every time I would go to a pay-per-view, like Conan's like, I think I love your jacket, but let's make it a little bigger, and let's make it a little bigger, because that's just how it is. If you look at, you know, someone like Blue Demon or Phantasma's dad, or like, you know, like everything like that, like they all had these crazy, mysterious, wonderful looks, which puts you in this totally different kind of category. I don't know.
I love that. No, I love that shit too. Like that stuff pumps me up. Like even when I went over with John, when he was working with New Japan and did Wrestle Kingdom, and I just got to like be there as a fan and watched it. And I was like, holy shit. Like it just changed my perspective of wrestling and like their gear, their entrance, the pageantry, what the fans were. Like it's so cool just being submerged in another culture and something that you're already so familiar with, but seeing it in a different way, through a different lens is so cool.
Absolutely. And it's just inspiring and fun and different. And like, it's so cool for me to now be seeing like how many lucha libre influences you see in the American style and in, you know, new wrestlers coming up. And it's really cool.